Tom. There we go. We are recording. So can I get a motion to start the meeting? Let's start the meeting.
I'll second it.
Second it, okay. Order done, boom. Usually we accept the minutes from the previous meeting. Although we just received the minutes from December this afternoon and I forwarded that to you. So I don't know if you had a chance to read them yet. I mean, Linda did an excellent job as always. We can have a vote on it, or if anyone feels that they need more time to read the minutes, it's up to you.
I'm okay about it.
I did send Linda an upgrade or a correction
Oh,
to make
man.
in the minutes.
Okay,
I did get that. Thank you.
okay, so you know what, let's, our next meeting here is actually in 2 weeks, so we can postpone acceptance of the December minutes for 2 weeks then. Is that okay with everyone? This way it would give people a chance to read and amendments, so we will postpone that until next 2 weeks from now. Great. Okay, so we are currently hybrid. Yay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hoffman, Michael Hoffman, for helping us out on this. We appreciate it. Is this okay for everyone going forward?
Yeah.
So we just say it as is.
Yeah.
Right? Great.
Great
Thank you.
option.
Okay, good. We're gonna
Is
do that.
anyone else tuning in? I'm just wondering if the link that I posted is
Yes, we have some books online.
wonderful.
Yeah.
If you look to your left, you can see a few books.
Okay.
Right. So right, Marie and Linda and Tom Lynch.
Okay.
So we will be hybrid now going forward. What I will do is for the next meeting will be Tuesday, the what?
7th.
The 7th, thank you. I will get the Zoom link. I will send that in a calendar invite to your City of Hudson email. So we will have that there along with the agenda and minutes, okay? Speaking of email, how is everyone on city email? Is everyone on?
I'm
city?
on it.
You're on it. You're on it.
I have not tried, I admit, I'm sorry.
I still need to do it.
And who is that? Is that Marie?
Marie.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, sorry. I'll do it this week, I promise.
Fair enough. No, I'm just checking. Actually, it's less complicated, I think, than what it seems. I was able, it seems a little convoluted at first, but it's fine.
I have not.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And.
I just got set up today. I haven't logged in yet. but-
Okay, good. Okay, so we're meeting again in 2 weeks, so everyone try in the next 2 weeks to get on the city email. I emailed Joe Vinning and about migration of old email. So he emailed me back today that there's an email out there, you'll see that we have to schedule a remote migration. So as per Joe, we no longer have to schedule the remote migration and that they are going to migrate it anyway, some other way. So what happened was that the server was hacked and we lost everything. Well, we lost email capabilities, so new email functionality, which I think is actually better, in my own opinion. And the old email, they still haven't migrated it over yet. They're working on it, but we don't have to do anything. Okay, and so then you've signed your certificate, everyone signed their certificates of certification that you're now, right?
We have to renew that this year, correct?
We have to renew that this year, yes,
So we just do that here during
during
daytime.
the day. Tracy will just, or Barry will just sign it up, yes. Great. The really nice thing about this new email platform, I think, is that there is a folder, we can create a shared drive folder. All right, so I sent you this evening, I sent you all steps 1, 2, 3 on how you can go in. Once I did it on a desktop. So once you're in on your desktop, there's inbox, favorites, and groups. We have our own group called the Conservation Advisory Council. Like I said, I sent you screenshots step by step. So there's a Conservation Advisory Council group. Once you click on that, you'll see another link to click on, which says Conservation Council again, and then it says share files. So what we can do now is create folders and put all of our files in a shared directory so that everyone can see them. So I have a folder out there now for agendas, a folder out there for minutes. And when we have other topics, like I have one for the heating and cooling thing, which we'll go over today. So there's a folder for that, as well as some street trees have their own folder. So like the map and the document, any sort of documentation, we can just all put there. This way we don't get 27 emails all over the place, and we can just, we could just put them in the folder and like link to that if you want to. Great.
Great, thank you.
All right, so those are all admin issues, right? Good. Any questions so far? Great. Let's start. So the first thing I have is the tree grants. Do we want to do a status update on the
Yeah.
Partners for Climate Change?
Yeah, so we have two grants happening right now. We have one from National Grid for 9 trees, and we have one from Hudson Valley Climate.
Partners for Climate
Partners
Action.
for Climate Action, but the HB CAM seems to be connected to it
It's a
somehow.
project, but the grant's from PCA.
Okay.
Partners for Climate Action.
So we have been assigning trees. I have, through a Google form, collected tree addresses and requests. We've populated all the trees that we can hand out. So I'm gonna be working on marking them.
It's an echo.
Oh, okay, sorry. Marking their locations and meeting with the contractor to pull a dig ticket, and Rich is gonna be working on getting the approval from Mr. Perry. And then we'll see if National Grid, Verizon, and all the other people have conflicts. If they do, then we will continue looking for tree locations. And then we have 15 other trees that we'll do in the fall that Vanessa is gonna help spearhead that outreach.
And one thing that I don't think you mentioned, but is really great about how Rick wrote these grants, that was that the contractors would be the ones cutting the sidewalks and doing the labor, and it frees up DPW from that. But
Yeah,
Rich will
DPW,
get the buy-in first.
yeah, they don't have to
Oh,
do the
DPW,
labor,
yes, yes.
they just have to approve it in theory.
I did go to DBW down there today. Rob Perry was not there, but I will try again tomorrow.
I'm sure they were really busy today.
They were busy today, yes. So DPW needs to okay the street trees location.
Yeah, and I made a map to sort of help, because ultimately I made the list of who got a tree by who signed up, first come, first serve, and then populated on a map, so there's some efficiencies during the installation process.
Are we still trying to spread them across the wards or?
We are, I mean, it's
Yeah.
actually,
We
it
can't
started
get
out
this
pretty
on
well.
my phone. Can I watch it on yours?
Sure.
Is that all right?
Would you rather use the,
Yes, and I will take Brit's spreadsheet, which is not in the folder. I'll put that in the folder so you can see where the locations are. There was an email, there was a press release that went out, as well as Goss has posted, a few other places posted it. So it was, you got 30 some odd people,
The 41,
41.
but some
Wow.
we can't use because they're on Warren Street.
Yeah.
So anyone who's on Warren Street, unfortunately, we're not putting you on the list because Mr. Perry has requested no Warren Street.
Can I ask a question? For the Partners for Climate Action grant, wasn't it specific to Warren Street? Am I remembering that correctly?
No, it's just
Okay.
streetscape.
And was there an understory pollinator
Mhm.
component?
Yeah.
Oh.
We didn't get as much funding as we requested, so it'll be slightly reduced in scale.
But there's still 15 one trees for the fall that has been approved for the budget. So if anyone is still out there requesting trees, then let us know and they can sign up. Also, we're hoping that this is something that just continues year after year.
Yeah.
So, that this budget money will stay in our funds, so we could do additional trees going forward.
And DPW needs to approve it because they know like the underground situation and all the problems that could come in the future.
All sidewalk cuts get approved by DPW.
Okay. Cool.
And these are gonna be contracted, but the fall trees are also contractor or
Fall
DPW?
trees are DPW.
The fall trees are DPW.
But that's the
Well,
fewer amount.
it's an interesting question because we have the budget in the CAC number, so in theory, the CAC could spend the money with a private contractor, or we could
Oh.
pay DPW for it.
There's flexibility in the grant for that?
This is just the budget, this isn't.
Oh,
grant.
Okay,
Right, so
okay.
the other trees, the fall is just a lump sum amount, and depends upon how we spend it, either on trees and contractor or just trees,
Okay,
depending upon the DPW, so.
that's nice flexibility.
And, right, I mean, I think it's for trees, and trees can be anywhere, so, yeah, there's flexibility, right? And then it doesn't necessarily have to be street trees.
Yeah, we could plant.
Right, right, and if there was, some tree that we really love, but desperately needs maintenance for it to survive, we could discuss that, and that might be.
Oh, it can go towards existing trees and maintain.
It's a
maintenance.
CAC budget,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be, exactly for 15 trees, they put in the amount that we thought it would take to plant 15 trees.
Was there anything in the tree inventory that Miguel did that like says these are the trees that need the most
Yes,
attention? Okay, great.
absolutely, there is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next steps? So I'll talk to Rob Perry about getting this approved, but there's a resolution, or what else are the other steps?
Yeah, I wrote a resolution, Tom has it, so he's gonna put it on the common council's review at a special meeting. It missed last Tuesdays,
It missed January.
but he's gonna push it in.
I think is Tom on the call?
Yes.
Yes, it was added to our special meeting that we're having on Friday.
Oh, great,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. And is that all, the DPW approval, the resolution, what else does we need? What else do we need?
Nothing, then once I get that, then I meet the contractor, mark out the locations.
Right.
And then I'll source the trees, make tree list,
Okay, great.
alert the homeowners.
Do you need helpers?
No, I'm okay, I have it under control, I have it like all in my spreadsheet system. Thank you.
But like I said, we still need more trees for the
Yeah.
fall, so it's still.
You're gonna reach for the next.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be shadowing you.
Swing of 15
Right.
people.
So the tree ordinance, where are we, what's the current status of that?
I wrote a rough draft and emailed it to people and then it died on the vine.
Okay.
But it's also like,
No.
it's like in the old email, so I'll resurrect it off my computer
Oh, okay.
Okay,
and resend it to everybody.
oh, and you know what, I'm sorry, I missed, let me go back up, page up, the DEC grant application, Hillary.
Yes, that's exciting. We've gotten a couple of communications from DEC for some clarifications, which indicates that we seem to be in the right. And the last clarification they wanted that we had made the plan that the large shade trees would be planted in the swath of land on the street side of the fence of on Harry Howard Boulevard. And they actually asked at DEC if we could get permission to plant them on the other side of the fence, on the Fasney side of the fence,
Oh.
giving more room and more depth to the whole planting area.
Oh.
Set them on the inside of Fasney's fence by 3 to 4 feet. And then we have that 14-foot wide swath for 100 or for 1,500 feet. That would have the ornamental trees and understory plantings.
Oh, okay.
So it would be really amazing.
But so the shade trees would be behind the fence, so it would be many, many years before the sidewalk is shaded. But on the other side of the fence is like the understory tree stuff.
It's still going to be many years because these aren't
Yeah.
going to be small trees. And I think once things start growing, it's going to make shade.
Okay,
But it's not going to be Savannah, Georgia in next year.
right.
I think it's make shade by like a casted shadow, but it probably won't make shade by canopy.
Mhm,
Right, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
exactly,
The next best time is tomorrow,
right.
right?
But there are like.
My prime real estate.
Yes. So does that require fasting approval?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
Oh,
spoke with Fastney very briefly, and their director of operations is checking with leadership tonight, and we'll get back to you tomorrow.
oh, great.
Because the benefit of having it on the Fastney side would be that they then handle maintenance, and they probably already have a crew that is handling all that maintenance. So that would take
Right.
it off of city.
Yeah,
I think we'll still need to commit. The city will need to commit to that, because that's
Collaboration.
part of the grant, and we'd have to do the watering, because DPW, Rob was saying that he wants to do it using the fire hydrants, and I know they're firefighters over there in Massachusetts, but, you know, they've earned the right to not have to open up fire hydrants at this point.
So we'll have to figure out watering for sure. I mean, we could collaborate with different classes at the different schools and kind of make it, but that. Yeah,
That's a real
Well,
job.
and the most of the watering is gonna need to be done over the summer, and that's when school's out, so we can't rely on that. As much.
but you know, the fasting museum, I mean, they're well, it's very well maintained, everything there is very well maintained.
Yes,
I've been inside multiple times and I have confidence in,
yeah, they're great groundskeepers.
yeah.
Mhm.
The museum is well maintained, the home is, everything is well maintained. So I believe they'll take care of it.
Okay,
Yeah, not very well.
but we don't have approval of that grant currently. We're still working on it.
No, but it's anticipated that we will get. Response.
And that's the total of 63.
Wow, okay.
Okay. It's,
that'd be exciting.
don't jinx it.
Yeah.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. So. Okay, next, okay, so the tree ordinance, I'm sorry, the resolution is sent to the council, no one responded, so.
Nathan responded.
Oh, wait, who responded?
Nathan.
Oh, you was, oh, here, oh, yeah, so what's the issue with the tree ordinance, can we move this forward or no?
I'll recirculate other
Yeah.
thoughts, and then
Right.
other people will give feedback.
Yeah, because the idea is that we have because what happens too is that not only do we have our planting trees, we also want to stop trees from getting cut down. So in order to do that, you need a tree ordinance, and then there's a tree board that goes along with the tree ordinance. I mean, granted too, I have to say that would still only be but for city trees. So if there's like a tree in an alleyway that's on private property, with a tree ordinance, stop that.
In other municipalities, tree ordinances are on private property, include private property. So like what stops somebody from coming in and cutting down a 24-inch caliper amazing maple tree,
Mm.
unless it poses a risk to the house, it's diseased. Because otherwise, what's the point of the tree ordinance? Because most of the property is private
Mm.
in a city. So in every other municipality, it's private property.
I see, okay, fine, so it'd be private and public. property.
Yeah, and if
Yes.
you do want to cut down the tree, you come before the board and you make an argument for why.
Fair enough.
I've been on the other side of it, making the argument of why to cut the tree down.
I see, okay.
And then are there penalties if people, or like, are they just not allowed to have an,
Yeah,
like the arborists will all know, we can't actually do this until you have approval on a paper or something like that?
yeah, absolutely. So,
Okay.
so you can't do any demo removals. It's like getting a construction
Right,
permit,
okay.
like a building permit, but there's mitigation efforts. So let's say you had to cut down the tree, you have the option, depending on how the ordinance is written, that you could mitigate it by for every caliper cut down, you will replace with 1.5 tree plantings.
Oh, okay,
So like, for example, if you had to remove 3 Norway maples along your driveway, you could replant it with 10 new native plantings.
okay.
And that would balance your removals, or you can write it however you want, like, but like in Briarcliff, New York, that's their strategy, it's like 1.5 times the caliper removal. I think Montclair, New Jersey is a 1-for-1 replacement, so if you remove a big tree, you have to plant
A big one.
the same caliper size count, so you could do 5 2 inches to
Got it.
get to 10.
Okay,
And we
Okay.
could specify the type, could we specify like an approved planting list so that they were native species?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure, yeah, that's what the tree board does, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Each town can be as difficult as they'd like.
And the first
Specific.
time, a few years ago, the first time we tried to bring to the legal committee a discussion of a possible tree ordinance and how would we shape it. We brought in different examples of how different cities did it. And at that time, it was believed that maybe we should start with municipal right-of-way trees and street trees, because it became really contentious when we started talking about private property.
Hmm.
That's where it was a few years ago.
Yeah,
But
it just
as Rick
feels,
said,
it feels so
mo-
anemic then.
Oh, no, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's,
Yeah,
I'm just
no.
saying that's what happened at that point a few years ago. And there were completely different people on the council and in the legal committee
Sure.
and, you know, it just was a different time.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd let you know where part of the stumbling block was.
Well,
Nathan had that feedback. He's like, what happens if I have to remove a tree on my property? And he's like, do I have to pay for it?
I mean, I removed a very scraggly,
So
yeah.
it's
yeah.
it's
So I
a
think there's
caliber and
other-
above, it's like 3 inches above, but like a good example is I did a major development in Briarcliff, New York, where they made a huge, like 15-story buildings and essentially had to clear cut land to put it down. It was for an aging facility, so it's for a good cause, but it's like huge development in a very small residential community, and they had to replace, I planted over 215 new trees on the project
Mm.
as a replacement for the
Mm.
30 that we cut down to clear and make space for the site, and that's how Briarcliff, New York ensures that they still have a
Mhm.
canopy in their town on private property. Otherwise, developers could just come and clear cut
Right,
forests.
Mhm.
makes sense.
what about like the Empire State Pride, or the Empire State Trail?
Trail, yeah.
Yeah, things like that. All right, so how about we do this? So can you, since, let's everyone get back onto email, and if you can pull up that tree
I'll send
ordinance
it to
and
everyone.
just send it to me, and I'll recirculate it, and we'll have a discussion then in 2 weeks on that, and then we'll make any amendments, here internally within the CAC, and if everyone is, if it's good to go, then we could move it forward to the common council. How's that? Good,
And
all right.
does the tree board need to be formed when that happens or beforehand, after?
All right, well, once it passes, then yes, we would have to put a tree board in place.
Is that just gonna be us essentially, or does it have to be entirely separate?
I guess that depends on how you write it.
When we had written that aspect before, and it doesn't, I'm not saying it has to be the way we had written it before. We thought about having at least one person. It would be a 7 or 9 member board. And that at least one representative from each ward.
Right.
And in that mix, or also from the other 2 at large, from any ward. We wanted to make sure somebody was, had tree expertise, had, so there were some criteria in there.
Makes sense.
So that was the thought at that time.
Okay.
7 to 9 and one from each ward at minimum.
Do you have that version
I do.
still? I'll circulate both versions around and we can have a discussion then on both.
Okay.
And then we can pick the best of both.
I can help do outreach to try and do that, but it sounds interesting.
It probably is gonna take a few months.
That's what I'm
before we
thinking.
actually.
And
it
like,
actually happens.
what are the criteria, like how much are they expected? How many hours is this gonna be in their lives and all that would be good to know when trying to,
Probably 1 meeting a month,
okay,
an hour a month.
cool. But it's a lot less than the CAC, so it's like almost,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I guess like the planning board where people have to come, or the preservation.
Correct.
People come with a project and it gets yay or nay or amended, things like that, I would imagine.
Cool.
Okay, great. Next item, city parks director. So where are we with this? Is this
It's a Tom and Michael question.
is this not in the budget for 2023? What's the deal?
It is not,
oh,
There you go.
right,
so-
Tom?
Correct. There is 15,000 for a consultant on landscape architect consultant.
And
But not for this year?
without, no, that is for this year,
Okay.
the landscape architect is for this year. And can you elaborate on, is like, what is
What's the intent, I guess?
the intent of that is to do, is it defined or no?
I think it's to advise on things like perhaps the tree planting, on any other plantings, on the parks. You know, I mean, just to kind of make up for the lack of planting expertise that happens in DPW.
Okay, so this is still through DPW, correct, right? So I'm gonna
Yes.
put that on my agenda to talk with Rob Perry to see where this 15,000.
Yeah, it'd be worth thinking, because it's gonna have to be under his control to a degree. But it's worth seeing what Rob envisions it as, or if he has any idea of what it should be.
All right, let me just talk to him about it and see what the, right, if he has plans for it or what the plan is.
And 15,000 isn't a whole lot for
No, it's not.
trained landscape architects, so if we are gonna use them for a consultation, we should really maybe spell out our annual projects and see where we
Absolutely.
need them the most. So we're not wasting their time and our money.
Right, and right, like what is that consultation? I mean, and this is just throwing this out there, but so many people say, you know, how things are pruned or what is things like that, you know, it are like, would a consultation mean, you know, this is how you prune certain trees or what should be pruned, or I don't know.
Exactly.
Right, what that looks like.
Right, what that looks like.
Are they just giving us lists, or are they gonna teach us so that we can continue that work, or?
Or is there documentation that's created that says, okay, here's a guideline on pruning, for instance.
Right, yeah,
And then that way that can, you know, go, you know, every DPW department person can then take that as a guideline, so we don't have to re-educate people.
that is a great idea. Just
Well, it was
think-
understood, that the position would have to be administered by Rob's office. It was also understood that you guys, CAC, would have a lot to do with defining how to spend that money and what that person would do.
Okay, so that's some flexibility.
Right,
I think asking for as many resources that can carry into the future for longevity makes the most sense.
I mean, you know, if funding's in the future there, we will eventually fund a full-time person. I mean, the mayor and I have both talked about that, and it's just a question of, you know, finding the resources in the future.
so I think what our takeaway from this here is this group, the CAC, is to come back maybe in a couple of weeks of what you might think would be your ideal consultation project for DPW.
Well,
Yeah.
and also kind of like where our expertise lacks also too, and like filling in that void.
Mhm. And let me talk to Rob and see what he says, and see what he says.
Marie had her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marie, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh, you're muted, Marie.
You know, we're meeting in 2 weeks, so I'll reserve my questions till then. So when we're all talking more about this particular issue, what I was gonna wonder is, what I'm wondering is, can we potentially pad that 15,000 through some creative mechanism, fundraising? 15,000, we could spend that in a month. It's not much unless we're looking at someone who's hiring someone that's not an actual landscape architect.
Well, let's see what we want to do with it, number one, and then,
Right.
you know, but yes, you're right, I agree, I mean, but it's still better than nothing, I mean, to be.
True.
I mean, I don't know,
Absolutely.
you know, so, we can,
It feels like, yeah, maybe that plus whatever Friends of Public Square are doing, plus the Spark is doing with the park project, like, is there a way to like glom that all together such that there's more?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that sounds right. Yeah, something like that. Thank
like I
you.
said, let's all think about, if you had your ideal project, what would it be? And that will come back in 2 weeks, and we'll discuss that, and then, like I said, I'll talk to Rob Perry, to see where his head is at with that.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Okay, next, Mr. Hoffman,
Mhm.
the 1,000 Cities campaign.
Yeah, I don't really have
Excuse me,
Oh, yes,
I had my hand raised, Margaret Morris.
Oh, Margaret, okay, I'm sorry, I can't say yes.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have my video on. Yeah, so, the 15,000 is not a lot of money in terms of somebody who is doing day-to-day work.
Right,
However, I think consulting with an arborist or a culturalist and getting their professional insight into what would be a good plan. That, given that there's a finite amount of money here. It seems to me that getting horticultural or arborist professional advice might be the best use of that money. Not, here's the game plan, here's the, here's what I'm gonna do, the actual day-to-day, doing whatever, but actually consulting with an arborist or horticulturalist would, to me, that seems to me to be the best way to use that money. I don't, that's just my 50 cents.
like I said, the reason I brought up that, Vince Wilford would always talk about how things were not properly pruned.
I feel pretty confident in horticulture personally to help or do whatever, but I don't have the expertise of an arborist, and I do think that that would be where to concentrate our energy,
Right.
especially if we're gonna be planting all these trees, we're just gonna run into future issues.
Yeah, I don't see this as being like a day-to-day, the 15,000.
No.
For someone to do.
It's, no, that is somebody who's gonna come in and give us guidance at a professional level as an arborist, and
Right.
and we need to leverage that.
I agree.
It almost feels like it needs to be a training session with the DPW crew that will be doing the work.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that would be the
That's
best
it.
use of the money.
I don't
Personally.
think it's like the person is saying, hey, do this on a master planning idea. I think it's training to sort of fix some of the things we have. So it's either like, hey, here's how to prune, here's how to pick up a tree, here's how to actually plant something.
On the other hand, though, if we could supply them with the list that Miguel prepared of all the trees that are desperately in need of pruning, gotta do this now, or removals or whatever they are, and that person could say, these need to be done in the fall, these need to be done in the spring, could, I don't know, if they had a way, I don't know.
Well,
if
between the
there's-
natural sources inventory that they did years ago, I think we'd onboard this person with like, this is what we have
Right,
done. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel and figure it out and waste your time and money,
right.
but so take, read all this and then, how do we go forward with that?
Do we have that as well? We have that document?
Yes, we do.
Can we recirculate that?
The natural resources.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's linked on my website.
I think they're talking about the tree
Is there?
inventory.
there's a tree in first one, City of Hudson.
And then the natural,
It might be there. You're both on the CAC website.
oh, great.
Oh, fine, great, okay, good.
And I think
Thank
the
you.
natural inventory resources, there's always copies here
Oh, That's
in
great.
City Hall.
That's good to know.
All right,
And I have about 12 extra copies.
Oh, I would love. I'd love.
You get a copy.
Just very quickly on the training component, I do like the idea of DPW being trained. Brooklyn Botanic Garden used to have a tree pruning sort of core, so they would train volunteers who were community members, and I think they could only prune trees of a certain size, and I don't know how liability worked in that case, but it was like a long-term, multi-year program, so that people actually monitored their neighborhoods and were able to sort of prune as needed at scale in Brooklyn, which was pretty significant. So just something for us, a creative idea for us to think about related to this.
okay.
I know you were going to the 1,000 cities, but did we talk about Arbor Day? That got
I
lumped
don't
into
think we
everything
have an
else.
actual day yet for Arbor Day.
Okay.
Do we? No,
It's in April.
Yeah,
yeah, we don't have a physical, we don't have an actual schedule.
It's around the.
every day is Arbor Day, so we can just
There we go.
be opportunistic with the weather.
I'm gonna leave that, I'm leaving that on the
Okay.
agenda, so we can discuss it next week. But let's move on to 1,000 cities.
Sure.
Sorry, Michael.
So, I continue to be in contact with Thousand Cities about the, concept of incorporating a climate action plan into our comprehensive plan update, which is, the process of the comprehensive plan update will be starting this year. Which is supported by a Department of State, Smart Growth Planning Grant, as well as ARPA funds. So the conceit right now is that we're working with 1,000 cities is it's a bit of a unique situation where we're looking at doing a rather low cost climate action plan that has a smaller scope that's designed for a municipality of our size. Most climate action plans out there are for like New York City, Boston, they're for really high impact urban areas, whereas we're not that. So the idea is that it would be a bit more condensed and refined for us and would therefore be at a lower cost, rather than being like $250,000 for a climate action plan. This is looking at like $40,000 basically. And half of that, if 1,000 Cities is selected as one of our consultants to work on our comprehensive plan with us, we probably would, they would subsidize that half of that. So it's even further low cost for the city. So, yeah, we do need to put it out to bid. It's not something that the city can just like be like, okay, yes, you can do it. We will incorporate that into our RFP for the comprehensive plan to also include a component, that the climate action plan component. And that is, and the RFP for that is in process. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have something to the common council in February, but I am still waiting on it to receive a draft.
Okay, so is there anything for us to action on this?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. All right.
Is there any potential synergy with some of the resiliency planning that I don't know if we're talking about today, but has come up recently with Columbia County related to some of the
Yeah, so I think that
planning?
we'll continue to I'm not sure where Hudson stands in its participation in the county's planning at the moment. I think Michael O'Hara might be able to speak to that better tonight. But that is something I think as we work on all of those planning things, we'll have good communication information.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Next. Let's see, current vulnerability assessment. So is this the same? Okay, so I'm sorry, maybe I'm confused. So climate vulnerability assessment, climate action planning. So is that?
That's what we were just talking about. Yeah.
Great.
It could potentially be a cost saving for the thousand cities, like having one piece of it by these state actors who are willing to do this process.
Yeah, there's definitely overlap. The climate vulnerability and assessment piece is more around like flood resilience and natural disaster resilience, but there's a more overlap.
Okay. All right. Anything else? No? Okay, next I have here, I have the solar energy and Hudson scoping document, which I'm assuming is similar to the clean heating and cooling energy efficiency scoping document, or two different issues. I received the going down under climate smart, the clean heating and cooling energy efficiency document. So I have those. I'm going to schedule a meeting with Wendy for some time. I don't know if anyone wants to be in on that, but oh, great. So what that is I'm sorry, I'm going down to clean heating and cooling, but I think solar is similar. Is that we fill out the forms, and if the city does a whole campaign, and from my understanding, if we have 5 people who decide to sign up with heat pumps, then the city gets like $5 grand.
Yeah.
Right? Does that sound good? Okay.
No, so, sorry, this is Margaret again.
Sure.
Quite a few months ago, I met with a member of CAC. There were 2 things on the table regarding solar. one related to the city becoming an entity. Like I know that Columbia County is becoming an entity. And that if we could establish a community-based solar situation, that we could sign up for that. I don't have the details on that. I don't,
think, yeah, Michael O'Hara, who's not here.
yeah,
today.
Michael O'Hara and I met on this. And it was my understanding that if we could get enough people to sign up in the city, we could be this entity within this, the money to the city was trivial, but the point was that we could establish this community solar. Personally, I looked into solar about 8 years ago, and because of the nature of my house, I couldn't do it. And this offered me the opportunity to buy into a community solar. So I haven't heard anything more about that. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so Michael O'Hara can. And he'll be here in 2 weeks. Hillary?
Are you talking, Margaret, about the one that was in conjunction with Columbia County's?
Yes.
community solar?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah, I did ask Michael directly about that. He said all of the shares are gone. There are no more available. There's no more, they can't take any more members. They've used up all of their.
Within Hudson or within?
Within the
Hudson
county.
We missed that, we missed both.
So that particular one that he was talking about, I'm staring at this microphone. That is no longer available. That doesn't mean that there aren't others
Okay.
to
Right.
get engaged with, but that particular one that we were discussing probably 4 months ago is no longer available.
Okay,
So-
yeah,
So,
Michael's back in 2 weeks, Margaret, so he's really the best person to speak
okay,
to.
I'll follow up. But I just want to talk about this thing about shares. I think that might relate to whether or not you're going to get some sort of rebate or whatever. Right? But I don't think that there was a limit on people being able to participate in community solar.
Would you like to research and come back to us on that? Michael?
Yeah, so maybe, yeah. Oh, thank you for homework.
Michael O'Hara, in 2 weeks,
No,
we're back.
No,
Yeah.
I've been waiting to get information on this because for over 8 years, I've been trying to get solar energy in my home. And like, I was so excited when I heard about this and then it didn't happen. So I will pursue. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure that there's, like Hillary said, like, there's probably other programs out there right now. I don't know of them. But trust me, Michael O'Hara is the person to talk to regarding.
I
solar.
will talk to him.
Especially the
yes.
Columbia County program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is well aware, and we are doing a disservice by not having him talk about it.
No, I'll give him a call. Thank you.
Next issue, Washington at 7th Street infill material Underhill Pond. This is on my list of things to talk to Mr. Perry about.
Fun.
Anyone? Any other comments?
He has to say what
Right,
you guys have to talk.
I'll just talk to him.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll have a nice long chat.
Conjecture.
Yeah. Climate smart. So on Wednesday, and Josh, I do not know if I probably did not forward this to you. So I will forward this to you. So there is a climate smart meeting, which I forwarded to you in your email. It's Wednesday at noon,
Okay.
the 25th. So this Audrey Crump is putting it together, and she's on the Cornell Cooperative, and a kickoff meeting for climate adaptation resilience meeting. So it's a 1-hour meeting. I will forward, you have it. I will forward it to you, Josh. Michael O'Hara, has anyone else want it? The meeting invite? Okay, fine. There we go. So that's that. That's this Wednesday. And I think it's just, like I said, a kickoff meeting on the county level. Next is Columbia County Community Campaign for Clean Heating and Cooling. That is, like I was talking about before, with the heat pumps. I'm going to, there's a scoping document which I went through. I do not know, like, for instance, like the vendors to use. I have no idea. So, I mean, a lot of it I could fill out, but basically it's us running us meaning the CAC running the campaign to try to get people to use heating and cooling pumps. You get 5 people signed up, the city gets $5,000.
I think with all the influx of people coming in and redoing houses, that probably wouldn't be too hard.
Right, which
It's just like matching the, making sure we get credit for the work that probably.
well, that's it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Which then goes to my next issue here, which I have Earth Day, which I'm, April 22nd. Which I think, well, personally would be, if we were to do these campaigns, it would be a good way to bring these campaigns out there on Earth Day. Even if, for instance, April 22nd is also the first day that the farmers market goes back outside. Right, so if we could do something in conjunction, even if it is tabling at the farmers market, or something like that. So once we have these, part of these campaigns, they want in the document, they want, how are we going to promote this
Right.
campaign? Right, so we could say, okay, we have press release, yada, 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 and then also tabling. I mean, I think that if, and Earth Day could, not only table at the farmers market, but tabling wherever.
Mhm.
We could table in front of Lolita's or down where, pick a couple locations or whatever you want, but I figured that. There are various campaigns such as these that we can help promote. And April gives us enough time, I think, to do that.
Yeah, and if we can consolidate a list of resources and kind of share, hey, if you can't come to this, go to that, but like Earth Weekend.
Right.
We could.
Is Basilica doing another Earth Weekend?
They're considering it. They're interested, but they don't have any plans currently as far as.
We can check in with Spark if they're doing anything. There's a lot of different groups who will do like a litter cleanup or a tree planting, or I'm sure it'll be a packed weekend. Might also be rainy, so it might not be a bad idea to also have kind of flexibility within that weekend.
I mean, it would be great if, for instance, I think, well, like, here's an idea. The CAC, even if we were like the umbrella organization that put together a poster or a flyer or something that says Earth Day, Hudson, City of Hudson, here's a list of events and places, and things that are happening.
Mhm.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
If, and then it's like, maybe there's tabling here, Basilica's doing that, Partners for Climate Change, I mean, either we're tabling at the farmers market or whatever.
Mhm.
So, and then promote that throughout town.
That's a really good idea, sort of like.
Trixie Bliss map.
But it would be a map of places and things like that.
Right, like when the art,
Hudson Eye.
yeah, that's an eye.
Hudson Eye, yeah.
So should we like put out a call for submissions of events or something like that at some point?
Well, yeah, I mean, who else is there? I like you said, we probably
We're
know
scheming to
some of the major players.
roping Trixie in to.
Yeah.
To an event at the brewery, Hudson Brewery.
The
Well,
farmers market
that
would be in, I mean, I could just reserve a table there with them.
I mean, talking, the youth department, part of co-host, this like 70 wide organization between Columbia and Greene County with all out of school time, after school things. I'm sure they're gonna be doing a ton of things, the CCE, CLC, all these places, and so I can try and get in on that meeting to just say, hey, we're looking for events so we can help outreach.
And my other idea, since we have Mr. Tom DiPietro here on the line, is that Tom, is there an event committee this year? Tom,
Yes,
and is there a budget for that event committee?
yes.
How much is the budget?
It's $30,000, but a lot of it is kind of spoken for already, I imagine. Because I mean, you could always hit them up, but a lot of it, is kind of geared towards the events that have repeated through the years. So I don't know, in the first meeting, I mean, if you want to put in an application, it's worth doing.
Right, I mean, even if it was just to help pay for promotion materials.
Yeah,
Wait, I have a question when you say it's spoken for, like have other people already put in applications and
No,
are.
No.
So are
there's
applications.
no process. The process hasn't begun yet.
Oh, so we could put in an application for Earth Day.
And the applications are evaluated on merit or first come, first serve?
Oh, just, they throw them against the wall and see which one will stick. No, obviously they're on merit. I mean, come on.
First come, first serve is a valid way to evaluate.
No, I know, but the idea was having 2 rounds throughout the year, an early round and then saving some of it for a later round, because what's left.
All right, well, we got on the loose. We got on the loose by submitting.
The chair of it is Ryan Wallace.
That's good.
Ryan.
Ryan, who's on the agenda later on, I'll talk to you about that.
I did have a question about budget materials for expensive, for like, if we had to print things to hand out and do outreach, do we have
If you print, Michael will. help
Yeah, you
print.
can send it over in the mayor's office.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to come out of our CAC, like tree stuff, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, but yeah, I mean, if we were doing an event, if we're doing Earth Day, I mean, even just from promotional materials, or if we wanted to help sponsor, I don't know,
Yes.
something. When the electric car chargers went in, for instance, National Grid has their whole media committee, like event committee, that they'll come and they'll give people, test drives in electric cars and
Oh, cool.
things like that. So there's other things that we can work in.
Yeah.
with,
That sounds fun.
Earth Day, yeah. But right, you're going to lose by putting together an application, and even if, things cost money.
Yeah.
Signs, banners,
Vanessa, you have a fun fundraising idea that could align nicely with Earth Day.
That's true.
right,
What
right,
fundraising?
social events, I mean, all be part of Earth Day.
Right.
Richard, Rich, before you move on, sorry, it's Marie. I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Going quickly back to the Columbia County Community Campaign for clean heating and cooling. The 5 signups, are these part of a program where they get some subsidy for the heat pump installation? Or is this a 100% the individual is paying for it out of pocket? Do you know?
I don't know, I'm meeting with the
Okay.
woman, I'm gonna set up a meeting with the woman, if you want, I'll send you the invite as well.
There's a number of state and federal subsidies that are available broadly to everyone, regardless of participation. I think this is like encouraging us as a city to promote the
And
program,
let people know,
and let people know, rather than a special chunk of money for the homeowner.
right,
We get more money if we get 10 people to sign up?
I
don't
don't think
know,
so.
I don't think so, I think there's a cap.
Okay.
But, right, I think what you're saying is right, that there's some sort of subsidies that people just don't know about.
Yeah.
I mean, right, like the Inflation Reduction Act has a whole bunch of federal subsidies, and there's state subsidies as well, so, yeah.
Ken just went through this recently and they were able to find 5 people pretty easily, but
Oh.
they could share information too, if that's helpful.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so yeah, so think about Maria, I will set up that meeting, I'll send you the invite as well with woman Wendy.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
And then we'll know more. And yeah, think of more ideas for Earth Day and see who we can circle in with that. And we'll come back to that in 2 weeks. Okay, so other issues. The bottom of this, the only update that I have on any of these is I did ask Mr. Ryan Wallace about the solar and municipal hardscape issues. And his response was that if they were to do it on, for instance, I think he said the DPW garage roof, that would need to be redone, restored for the solar panels. And, or if they were to put the solar panels by the reservoir, we'd have to do a study to find out what the impact was. So he did say that, he needs to work with DPW on getting those studies done, and he would appreciate any input from the CAC. So I said, great. I said, would you want to come to a meeting and talk to us about it? He's like, sure. So he might be in the meeting for March. So I invited him to speak to us and see where he's at with that and see what needs to get done. And then maybe we could use the middle part of our name, advisory council, advise him on what to do.
But that's just like a study to see what the conditions of all the roofs are and what they would need. It's not actually to install.
It's not, we just need to figure out what would need to happen before they do the install.
Right,
Yeah.
and which are like the best candidates.
And he's like talking about issuing bonds and a whole, and this was like 6 months ago.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that that might have been, and I could be wrong, it could be a little bit the cart before the horse then.
Yeah.
Because I think this was, if they were to do that, then they could put it here or there, but I don't know if it's that, they don't even know if that's even possible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To put those solar panels by the reservoir. I think that's the study that needs to happen.
Would that be like a seeker review?
I don't know.
Environmental.
Yeah, that would be, I'll bring him in for a conversation and then,
Great.
I could put that on my list of things to talk to Rob Perry about too.
Sounds
We'll have a nice
good.
one.
Yeah.
I think he should be a guest at the.
Bring a lunch.
Course dinner.
Rob Perry, how we get along? He's a nice guy, actually. So there you go. Anything else? We have the city parks management recommendations. I have no other updates on anything else on the following other issues, unless anyone else would like to.
I wanted to like resurface the climate smart work.
Yes,
Michael isn't here, but like one of the things I was looking at, like actually just taking on myself was the government operations greenhouse gas audit and like actually going through and doing that. He had talked about doing that at one point, and I think it's fallen off of all of our to-do lists, and he's busy, so I was thinking about unless you have somewhere in a back pocket somewhere in the mayor's office, have that done already.
What done?
An audit of government operation greenhouse gas usage.
No, I don't think so.
what I will do is, I think right now, we put together a spreadsheet on Climate Smart task. And I think that's sitting in a Google Share Drive. And what I will do is I will move that from the Google Share Drive to the City of Hudson Share Drive and a folder called Climate Smart. I'll send that out to everyone. This way we all have access to it. And then I think at that point, I was gonna go through it to see if there are any sort of other campaigns that we could do, since we're doing it today. We could maybe get a couple more points that way, but yeah. I'll move that folder for you.
That was, I think, of the actions that we had last talked about, that was like, go out and do something.
Right.
That was like relatively straightforward for the most number of points, but is just like churning through a giant Excel sheet and pulling out all the right numbers.
All right, so how about I do this? I will move that folder. I'll send you the link. If you want to go through it and tell us, in 2 weeks, like which items you're gonna take on.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Okay, anything else, folks?
I just wanted to say that I went to a presentation that CAC did. It was fantastic. And I want to send everybody a link to it. They had a presentation. I was trying to get on their website to remind myself of who it was, but it was absolutely a wonderful educational and for any age, children would love it because it's all about native planting for creating environment for every moth and butterfly and pollinator. And so there's all these great photos of larvae and chrysalis and all the stuff but he made it so approachable, so understandable. And it's a campaign called something like something about thousands of national park or
In your backyard.
in your backyard, yeah,
National
but
park in your backyard.
there's no plot of land too small. If you're in the city, it can be, and it links to all of these sites for getting the right, sort of mix of plants for attracting different types of things, but in a really very wonderful and approachable way. And so I'm gonna share that with everybody. The other thing was, Joshua, you'll know what this is. I was looking on my calendar. I'm signed up for a webinar tomorrow morning at 8:30. What am I signed up for?
Part of HV Can's Morning Coffee Series.
Oh,
and there's
right.
Dr. Anton Simon.
Right.
Bard, and also there's a National Geographic Explorer talking about the science, climate science behind our storms. He's been tracking weather patterns in the Hudson Valley for decades, so he's gonna share what he's learned, and there'll be a Q&A section. So it's on Zoom, 8:30 to 9:30, 1 hour.
You have to pre-register though, right? To get the invite.
You're supposed to pre-register, but I can send you the link. Since I set up the registration.
You vetted her.
I'm sorry, I'm terrible at email guys.
Yeah, so
They let me in, so.
I'll send it, I'm happy to send it around to this.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm gonna train. Do you think I'll still be able to watch it?
Oh, maybe, depends,
Yeah,
Amtrak
thanks.
is sometimes,
Okay.
yeah,
that's
thanks
great.
for bringing that up. We're having these monthly series, and so this is the second one, so there'll be another one next month on Valentine's Day, actually, that we'll be looking at Poughkeepsie and looking at community choice aggregation, historic preservation and waterfront development related to municipal climate policies.
That's romantic.
Wow, that's great.
Really sexy topic.
Great. So, and you can send us that, yeah, did they send you the link? Is that-
Yes, I just couldn't get it here and now.
No, big deal.
I will. and
Great, thank you.
It was really good.
Um, anything else? Anyone else? No, yes,
Public,
comments?
gathering.
No? All right. Motion to adjourn? Oh.
I'm gonna make a motion that we adjourn.
Oh.
I've never done that.
Go crazy, Eleanor, just. There's exactly. Oh, who's gonna second? Anyone second? There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for coming in Zoom land. Margaret, we love you.
Thank
Carol,
you.
Marie, Linda, Tom. Thank you all very much.
We'll
And
see you in
see you
2
guys-
weeks.
In 2 weeks on a Tuesday, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.